If you're a real estate agent that is tired of setting appointments that people don't show up to, if you're tired of having conversations where they won't meet with you, if you're tired of going to listing presentations and not dealing with the right value props and not getting them to move forward in the contract, this is a video about the 4 things that if you get every single time, instantly your closing rate, your show rate, and your conversion rate will all across the board go up so that you can sell more homes while prospecting less, which is always a great thing. I would run out, and when I first started doing cancel and expires about 6 years ago, I would get on the phone call, and sometimes you're just where you're at that lucky spot, and where luck is where hard work and opportunity intersect, right? Some people are like, oh, you're lucky. The harder you work, the luckier you get. You've always heard that, and you will fall into some lucky opportunities, but lucky opportunities in real estate don't just fall in your lap. There are very, 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 very few laydowns. And laydowns come in the form of leads and deals where you've already built and established a relationship. This is not a cup of coffee. This is not a piece of candy. This is not an alcoholic beverage where, it just might fall in your lap and you're randomly like, cool, I'll buy a drink. And then you're like, I didn't really want to buy the drink. People do not just go and list their homes after having a bad experience randomly. Okay. You might end up in a random appointment, but it's very, very, very rare where somebody just says, you're the first person in line and I'm going to take you. It does happen occasionally if you're the first person to call. I remember one of the easiest sales I ever got in a cancel and expired. I called this guy at 7:57. He picked up the phone. I gave him the script. He goes, you know what they say, Josh? I said, what do they say? He said, they say early birds get the worm. Do you know who you are right now? I said, who am I? He goes, you're the early bird. So you're getting the worm. I want you to list my house. Come over. Well, when I showed up, that was cool. That's how he felt. But Mrs. Seller, she was ready with the horns, ready to evaluate me and qualify me. Okay. And so when we get on the line with somebody, Aaron got on the line with somebody, delivered the script, was natural, confident, did a phenomenal job at delivering the program. You had even, and I'll give you a second to talk about that because you had talked about that a little bit. And he said, let's talk tomorrow at 12 or 5. We did not get a full qualification call to where I don't know confidently that I can walk into the meeting and deliver on 3 or 4 really amazing hot buttons, build rapport with him, know who he is, know why he wants to talk, know why now, know where he's going next, know what his problems are, know what his pains are, know what the solutions are going to be. Okay. And again, going back to the 4 things we need in order to consistently sell. And if you don't have this memorized, write them down, not because you're dumb, it's because it's a learning hack, right? When we listen and we write, we learn faster. One, you got to have, who thinks they've got the 4 things you need to have consistently to sell every single time? Surreal, you want to fire off? Nathan, Aaron, Kendra, Diana, Michelle?
One's controllable.
One's controllable, right? What do you mean by controllable?
Like, are they coachable? Are they someone that you can
open-minded?
Yeah.
Good listeners, right? Yeah, that's one. What's another one?
Wants, needs, and pains.
Wants, needs, and pains. The WNP. The WNP, the wants, needs, and pains. Why are those important to have?
It's going to show motivation. It's going to show what they're, usually people are walking away from pain, going towards pleasure. So it'll show why they are making the decisions they're making, what they're looking for, and, just getting really granular with actually what they want.
It'll also help us with where is the breakthroughs that they need to have in order to have a successful and a positive experience. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got controllable, we've got wants, needs, and pains. What else?
Timeline.
Timeline is kind of in the wants, needs, and pains, right? Right, because it's when do they want to be there? What's their wants and their desires?
You got to have all the decision makers.
Got to have the decision makers. I don't know about you, but in real estate, we work for free a lot. I don't like to do the same job twice because sometimes you miss the magical moment. So for example, if you crush it and kill it with a listing presentation, at the very end, you say, are you ready to sign up? And they say, well, hey, I got to talk to my wife first. It's a deflating moment. And I most certainly don't want Mr. Seller trying to convince Mrs. Seller in a 3-minute conversation where he's missed 90% of what I said and how I said it to transfer that emotional connection, to transfer that rapport. I don't want him trying to do that on his behalf, so I got to do it again. Major momentum killer. As much as, and this is a classic line that everybody will give you, right? Listen, my wife, she trusts me. She trusts me completely. What I say goes. Anytime a man says that that's married, when he's talking about selling his house, I just laugh. Internally, I'm like, Look, my wife trusts me in regards to how much I spend on hockey skates. And my wife trusts me to make sure that I buckle up my kids when we're driving somewhere. My wife, trusts me in regards to building the business and making decisions on what we're going to invest in the business and stuff. But I can tell you for a fact that if we're talking about buying a home or selling a home and whatnot, and working with somebody and being a part of the relationship, Aaron, what happened even with one of your really, really good friends, with somebody that you know, and he said, don't worry, I'll just let her know we're making a switch at agency? What happened?
Oh yeah.
Chance.
Yeah, just a few minutes later, he reached back out and was like, I want Gina to be a part of this. She got upset. She feels like she needs to sit down and at least listen.
Yep. So we got to have the decision makers. Okay. And one of the ways that we can do that, by the way, because it's really uncomfortable, like if somebody's like, I make all the decisions, my wife doesn't need to be involved. If we were to say, listen, sir, you're going to suck at delivering the value prop. You haven't been a real estate agent. You don't know me. Like, it's a weird conversation, right? So one of the things that we can do, and you guys can write this down, is I say, hey, sounds like your marriage works a lot like mine, or sounds like your decision-making process is a lot like mine. Have you ever been in a situation where maybe you saw a movie, or maybe you read a book, or maybe you saw a TV show, or maybe you went to a seminar or something, and it just really made a difference in you? Like, you were like, wow, that was incredible. And then you try to deliver it to your significant other, and it just doesn't hit the same way. Look, one of the things that I do as an agent is I make sure that everybody's on board, and I don't want you having to try to memorize, internalize, deliver information, and then she's going to ask you questions and you're not going to remember the exact answer, which then that's just going to cause friction. You want her, when you make a decision, to be on the same page and be just as excited as you, don't you? Fantastic. I'm willing to show up anytime that's convenient. I don't want you have to do my job. Why should you have to pay me to do my job? Right? Let's go ahead and set up a time where we can all get together, and I'll be super, super flexible. Usually it comes down to trust. They don't want to look silly to the significant other. They don't want to, maybe the other one doesn't like salespeople. Maybe they don't like being a part of the process. You could even ask, hey, what does your significant other feel about salespeople? Well, she's not a huge fan of them. Hey, out of curiosity, what's the worst part about sales or marketing or presentations to her? Well, she just doesn't like how people are pushy. And that's why, I go through it all. And if it makes it through the final round, hey, I totally appreciate that. Okay. So what it sounds like to me, and then we qualify, right? What it sounds like to me is that if she's going to work with somebody, or she's going to invest her time in working or evaluating somebody, she needs to know that they're gonna take it slow. They're gonna educate her. They're gonna make her a part of the process. They're not going to be pushy, and they are going to most certainly deliver value and make sure that she has a really great time. Hey, I promise you, at the end of the conversation, she's going to absolutely value the fact that you schedule this time with you. Fair enough? Got to have the decision maker. And the last one, we've got controllable, we've got wants, needs, and pains, we've got decision makers. The last one is budget, right? Like, they've got to be in the wheelhouse or in the barnyard for the actual process. If somebody wants to sell their house and they want $300,000 more than the house is worth, and they want to buy a house, it's $200,000 more than their net sheet will allow. Nathan, what happens sometimes with those?
What
happened with the La Mesa listing?
Yeah, they end up getting priced out. They're just too high, or the market's not at the same level as where they think they're going to sell for, and then it ends up not working out.
If the money doesn't work, then it's not going to work, right? So we focus on those 4 things to go into the appointment, and that's where the conversation, the qualifying, and this happens with a buyer, this happens with a seller, this happens with anybody that has real estate plans. And so the process is contacts to conversation, conversation to appointment, appointment to signed agreement to active client to under escrow or in escrow, under contract. Okay. And so in this situation, before I just show up now, here's a situation where the guy said, hey, we can talk at 12 or 5. Great. We tried to get him onto a qualifying call prior to, so that we could turn that into a listing appointment. But if he doesn't respond, then we're going to show up at 12 to 5. And there's almost this element of I'm not going to do any due diligence on the property. I'm going to do a little bit, but I'm not going to prepare for a listing appointment until it's a listing appointment. Why would I not do that?
It's extra work, and if you don't have an appointment, you could be spending your time doing other things.
What if I spend my time trying to figure out what the house is worth right now today? And he's like, oh, I couldn't sell for 5 months anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible. So I just wasted my time. And the other thing is from a mindset perspective, right? This is a really, really big deal. Do you think that Target would change any of their processes for one potential sale? Why not? Because they got a business that they know clients are coming in left and right. They have to have a process to service, right? If I start chasing, well, I want to do this because what if he thinks I'm unprepared? What would happen if he goes, well, wait, you didn't do any preparation? How would that make me look if he was like, you didn't do any preparation? Potentially,
you look like you didn't do any preparation. Not good.
Yeah, potentially not good, right? But it's real simple. Hey, what have you done? So do you know exactly what my house is worth? Well, great question. I'm really glad you asked. And part of our process is making sure that we know exactly when you want to sell so that we can help you accurately predict what the most reliable outcome will be. With that being said, if you had a magic wand, acknowledge his conversation, don't necessarily answer his question because I'm going down a bad road. Hey, really appreciate where you're coming from. That's actually part of our process. And we spend a lot of time doing that once we know exactly what your plans are. So when you ask me, do I know what your house is worth today? Or are you more interested in, will I know exactly what your house will net you when you sell? Gotcha. If you had a magic wand and you were waving it around and poof, you were getting your money from escrow, a big old fat check or a wire, when would you want that to be?
Mm-hmm.
When would you want that to be? Hey, fantastic. Why is that important to you, right? And then we go into that conversation so that we can say to them at the end of it, again, going back to the Alex Hormozi, right? Camera. I'm like over here, right there. Going back to Alex Hormozi, I love that. I love that this is his thing. He said, make offers so good that people feel stupid about it. That's essentially what we're doing, right? How many times have we gotten down to the end? So if I could show you a way, right? If then, would you? If I could, would you? Right? So, hey, what I hear you saying is you're looking for an agent that'll do X, Y, and Z. You're looking for an experience that'll produce A, B, and C results. And most importantly, you do not want to experience 1, 2, 3 pains. If I could do all of that, would that be something that's valuable to you? Well, yeah, of course, I'd feel dumb. Hey, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to make sure that when we speak next time and when I walk the property, I'm going to make sure you know exactly how we're going to accomplish that. I'm going to make sure you're confident in the plan. I'm going to make sure you're always in touch with the most reliable information, the most up-to-date information. And I'm going to bring my A game so that you're so overwhelmed with value, you feel compelled to work with me. Let me grab my calendar. All right. Now, do you work nights, weekends? When you're in gathering information mode, when's the most enjoyable time for you to discuss that? Okay. And I want to be very, very clear. It's not that I don't want to hop on the phone and hustle for Aaron. And he knows that, right? It's not that I don't want to root for you and be excited for you. I'm so focused on developing everybody into phenomenal sales reps with a strong foundation that I'm going to set that precedent of, we want to be flexible with people, but we also want to be able to deliver them more value. It is unresponsible or unethical or unprofessional of me just to be excited and rush in and be like, want to buy? And it's going to lead to heartbreak.